Your hair bad.
What's up, primates? I'm Shane the Skeptic, and as always, I thank you for tuning in to my channel. Today, I'm going to be giving a little bit of a, a review of what I'm studying with respect to epistemology and memory. You know, the epistemic role that memory plays. Because it's pretty intuitive that a lot of the things that we know happen to be things that we remember. So, what role does memory exactly play in our epistemology, in our conceptions of knowledge, right? So I'm going to be giving a bit of a review. I took some notes on my own. I wrote a script on my own. So I'm going to be starting this stream off by reading that script. After reading my own script, I'm going to be reading 2 chunks out of this book by Robert Audi, Epistemology, A Contemporary Introduction to the Theory of Knowledge. It's a great book for those of you who are interested in reading about epistemology, studying epistemology. You're going to get a lot more if you actually take the time to read on your own than if you actually just get my summaries of what I read from this book and from various websites online. So there are sources linked in the description if after the fact you want to go check some of this out on your own. Because of course you shouldn't take my views as being authoritative. You know, I'm a philosopher, but I'm not an educated philosopher. You know, do remember that I'm somebody who hasn't even spent a single day in a college class, right? So anyway, I'll just get right into my script. I'm just gonna give a quick shout out to Courageous. What's up, Correa? We got Atheist Sanctuary. What is going on? Jenna and Ree. So already some awesome people in the chat today, so I'm already excited about this one. But yeah, let me just get into that script. Okay. So I believe when I look at the chair on my balcony that I've sat on the chair before. This belief is apparently grounded in my memory. When I reach the top of the stairs to my apartment and see the chair in front of my door, it occurs to me that I've sat there before. When this occurs to me, I have a sense of already believing it, as opposed to arriving at this belief as this recollection occurs. The proposition that I've sat in the chair doesn't seem to be an observation or a discovery. Rather, it seems to be one that I have had in mind before and believe when experiencing a recollection. On the basis of these facts about my belief that I've sat in the chair, the belief is intuitively a justified one. In fact, I can't help but also think that this belief counts as a case of knowledge. It doesn't sound right to me to say that I merely believe that I've sat in the chair, but don't really know whether or not I actually did. Consider your memory of having just heard me say everything that I said. Would you consider your belief that you heard me present a particular example of a memory involving the chair on my balcony to be a case of mere belief or a case of knowledge? And I'll re-ask that same question. Consider your belief. Right now, you believe that you just heard me present an example of memory, and that example was one involving the chair on my balcony. Do you merely believe that you heard me give you that example, or do you think that you know that you heard me give you that example on the basis of your memory? I personally would count this as a case of knowledge. One of the reasons I count it as a case of knowledge is it's simply compatible with my theory of knowledge. Anyone who's familiar with my theory of knowledge, it goes a little bit something like this. So I'm an externalist about knowledge, but an internalist about justification. And I define knowledge as justified true belief, which would not have been arrived at if not true. So in the case of sitting on the chair, if it wasn't true that I had sat on that chair before, I wouldn't have a memory of having sat in the chair before. So according to my view of justification and my externalist view about knowledge, me arriving at the belief that I sat in that chair through my memory of my belief that I sat in that chair, I'm sorry, my memory of my experience of sitting in that chair, um, this counts as a case of knowledge. It's justified. So, um, anyone who doesn't think it's a case of knowledge, I'm interested in hearing your reason for thinking that it ceases to be a case of knowledge. Um, if you are an infallibilist, maybe you would say that, because of the fact that memory is subject to illusion, that memory wouldn't be a justification conferring process. I would argue that that only applies to memory as much as it applies to perception. Your empirical senses, such as your vision, can deceive you, but that doesn't mean that they're not reliable. So if you're a process reliabilist, then you're all good there. That would be a case of knowledge. One second. My dog had to wait to get water till I was recording. And this mic really does have to pick up every little every little noise. But that's fine. In a one-bedroom apartment with a dog, so noise is going to happen. I just have to accept it. Okay. Now I'm going to be getting into I'm sorry. I said that I would read from the for the two different chunks out of this book. So I'm going to begin by reading about the causal basis of memory, and then I'll be reading about three modes of memory. So, and these chunks I'm actually just going to be reading directly out of the book. I think if I were to read like an entire chapter, that would become copyright, but I'm also not sure exactly the extent to which, reading from a book becomes copyright. So, I'm reading from the book in an effort to avoid plagiarizing because, you learn in philosophy ideas from other people, but you also want to be careful not to pass off other people's words as your own. So, anyway, the causal basis of memory beliefs. One might think that just as perceptual beliefs are caused by an object perceived, memory beliefs are caused by a past event remembered. Some memory beliefs are caused in this way, and we'll soon see that causal connections to the past are essential for genuine remembering. But even if it should be true that all memory beliefs are produced at least partly by events in the past events are not the only objects of memory or the only things that it stores. We remember and thereby retain and believe general truths such as mathematical theorems. Mathematical propositions are certainly not past events. Learning them is a past event for many people, but that is quite a different point. So, the point that's being made here is you could remember a mathematical proposition, but your memory of the mathematical proposition is separate from your memory of learning the mathematical proposition. Remembering 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a separate memory from, remembering how you learned that. Nor are the propositions past objects of some other sort, or even about the past, but many truths of mathematics are clearly among the objects of remembering, the things we remember. Moreover, even if every memory belief is at least partly caused by a past event, not every belief caused by a past event is memorial. This point applies even if the belief is true. Suppose that my unknowingly taking a poisonous drug causes me to feel strangely ill an hour later, and my feeling ill then causes me to believe that I've been poisoned. Then, indirectly, the past event of taking poison causes me to believe that I have been poisoned. But this belief is not memorial. It is in no way grounded in my capacity for remembering, and I have no memories connected with the belief, such as memory of someone putting a white powder into my soup. I arrive at the belief by inference to what I think best explains my illness. Thus, the beliefs being caused by the past events of my taking the drug need not make it a memory belief, even if the belief is true. My memory has played no role in supporting the content of the belief. And this is where I disagree with the author. I actually think for it to be plausible to you that someone poisoned you, it must be the case that you can think of some opportunity in which someone could have poisoned you, say when you had your soup earlier, which would involve your memory. So I think it perhaps doesn't play a significant role, though I'm in disagreement with the author that it plays no role. The belief lacks a ground appropriate for suitably connecting it with the past event it represents. An analogy with perception will help. Consider a belief caused by a flash that I don't see, but merely feel as a momentary heat. This belief need not be a visual belief, even if it is a true belief with visual content, say that a camera flashed near my hand. A belief caused by something visible is not thereby a visual belief, just as a belief caused by a past event, something rememberable, is not thereby a memory belief. Since a belief caused by a past event need not be memorial, it is not true that a memory belief simply is a belief at least partly caused by a past event. The analogy between memory and perception is limited, but it does get us on the right track. For surely a belief about the past is memorial only if it has some causal connection to a past event, just as belief is perceptual only if there is some causal connection between it and the perceived object. Even a belief that arises from testimony and not from firsthand observation and is then stored in memory is traceable to the past event of one's acquiring the belief. A thing cannot normally be stored in memory unless it has entered that storehouse. Since memory beliefs can concern any subject, including future events or mathematical truths, we can see that such beliefs need not be about any particular event, even if their existence does trace to one. And I, of course, want to check out the live chat to see what you guys got going on. Let me see. Really, we love Bob's interruptions. Bob, if anyone doesn't know, is my dog's name. And let's see. She says, I'm not going to remember this info on memory, but still interested. It's actually funny. We're thinking about memory, but anything that you learn from me and then know later, you will know by remembering it. So that's actually interesting. Goddamn bot in my live chat. Get out of here, bots. Okay, cool. Bots are stupid. Incoherent ass sentences all the time. Fuck bots. I don't know why I made that so personal. Okay, into the 3 modes of memory. And this one's shorter than the last one, so I hope I'm not boring you all to death by simply reading, but I think that this is very important, and then I'll be getting on to my descriptions of different conceptions of memory. So here are 3 modes of memory. In constructing theories of memory, there are at least 3 different but closely related notions we must track: memory, remembering, and recalling. We have memories of many things. We remember and we sometimes recall, roughly call back to mind, much that we have experienced. Both points apply to us in virtue of the power of our memory, conceived as a capacity. In other words, a cognitive faculty. There are things that we remember, such as isolated facts, that we may never have occasion to recall, but they remain in the storehouse of memory, ready to be retrieved if needed. When retrieved, we may be said to have, at the time of retrieval, a memory of them. Our memory, conceived as a faculty, is a general capacity. The better it is, the more memories we can have. The better we remember, the more we can recall. And the more we can recall, according to me, the more justified we are in that belief, which we're recalling, given my process reliabilism. Among the things we remember are skills and related behavioral capacities, both mental and physical. Memory of skills is remembering how. Much of what emerges here concerning remembering will apply to remembering how. So remembering how, memory skills, this pertains to ability knowledge. If you've heard me talk about knowledge, you've probably heard me differentiate between propositional knowledge, knowledge of a proposition, and then ability knowledge, knowledge of how to do something, like I know how to talk. So memory skills would be remembering how, ability knowledge is what memory skills pertain to. All right. There are then 3 memorial notions to be accounted for by a theory of memory first. Remembering of events, things, and propositions. Second, recalling those items. And third, memory as the capacity in virtue of which remembering and recalling occur. There is a further task, accounting for errors. Like perception, memory as the capacity for remembering and recalling, and I include recollection as a kind of recalling, can produce impressions that are illusory or, in a way, hallucinatory. Not every memory belief is true. Not every recollection is faithful to what it recalls. In developing the memorial counterparts of the 3 main kinds of theories of perception, I will concentrate chiefly on remembering, particularly on the simple remembering of events, that being event memory. So think, for example, my memory of the event of me sitting in the chair outside, as opposed to remembering that I sat in it, which would be propositional remembering, or remembering the chair to be sturdy. So that would be um, objectual remembering. And I'm replacing an example given in the book with the example I gave earlier, just why I kind of had to think for a second there. So event memory, propositional remembering, and objectual remembering. So remembering the event, remembering propositions, and then objectual remembering, some of the specifics about things within those propositions. My memory of, say, qualities that the chair had. So that summarizes what I had to pull out of that book, pulling up my notes about 3 views of memory. And they are the direct realist view, the representative theory of memory, and the phenomenalist conception of memory. And because of the fact that I'm very professional, I made banners for while I'm talking about them. So if you thought I was unprofessional earlier because of, now you know I'm the real deal because I have banners. Fuck a PhD. I have banners on StreamYard. That's all that matters. That'll get clipped for sure. I don't even care. Fuck it. All right, so there's the direct realist view. Direct realists about episodic memory claim that a subject experiencing a memory has direct contact with a past event. However, how is it possible to be acquainted with an event that ceased to exist? That is the so-called contemporality problem. Now, I'm not a direct realist, so this isn't my problem to solve, but attempts have been made. So you shouldn't discredit the view on the basis of me saying that view is basically defeated by the contemporality problem. My position is that the view is defeated by that problem, but I would encourage you to, look into it yourself and see if you agree with me, rather than just taking my word for it. As a direct realist view, this view maintains that memory beliefs are not produced by any intermediary with which we were acquainted. So think about imaging to arrive at a memory of an event. If you think that in order to arrive at a memory of an event occurring, you have to image parts of that event to remember it, then that imaging would count as some sort of intermediary, which would be incompatible with this direct realism. So again, that's my personal reason for not adhering to direct realism. And I'm not a direct realist about perception either. So I guess it would be rather surprising if I was a direct realist about memory. I don't think those would necessarily be incompatible, just unlikely. An unlikely combination anyway. So now we have the representative theory of memory. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm professional. I switched banners. I'm the real deal. Wait, did somebody... All right, hold on. Somebody smart came in. That's right. John Hudson knows what he's talking about. Okay, the representative theory of memory. Like the sense-datum theory of perception, the representative theory of memory is a kind of indirect realism. So if you're a sense-datum theorist about perception, you're likely to be a representative theorist of memory. This view construes remembering as mediated by memory images, and it's through these images that we're acquainted with the past. I understand this view to require all memories to be construed by memory images, and it is simply the word all which personally puts me off from this view. So if I'm mistaken about it being the case that this view requires all memories to be construed by memories, then maybe I am a representative theorist, but for me, it's just the word all that puts me off from that view. So roughly that is that view. And of course, please go look up these views yourself. If you could just go Google these 3 views and do a little studying on your own, that would be an amazing supplement to what little information I'm able to provide you in this professional live stream. Third banner, you know I'm professional. The phenomenalist conception of memory. So phenomenalism's essential tenet is that propositions about material objects are reducible to propositions about actual and possible sensations or sense data or appearances. I said that kind of fast, so I'll say it again slower. Phenomenalism's essential tenet is that propositions about material objects are reducible to propositions about actual and possible sensation or sense data or appearances. On what might be the most plausible phenomenalist account of memory, remembering an event is understood in terms of the imaginational content of present experience. Present experience in this sense can pertain to the experience of memories, which are themselves, of course, past events. So I would understand myself to be a phenomenalist about memory. Although, you know, perhaps I might be a phenomenalist about some cases of memory, but I might be a representative theorist about, say, events, right? Because I don't disagree with the representative theory of memory if we're talking about how we could arrive at knowledge that an event occurred, but it's simply memories of other things, such as mathematical propositions, which leave me thinking that I might be more of a phenomenalist. I have some studying to do to see if my um, what is it I'm thinking of? Empiricist. I have some studying to do to see if my empiricism is compatible with my phenomenalist view about memory, because I'm more confidently an empiricist than I am a phenomenalist about memory. However, if those are compatible, then I would probably put myself in the phenomenalist, category for memory. So, yeah, that's really just that's really it. I just wanted to come give you guys a little bit of notes, some of what I'm reading. If you guys in the live chat, let me know if you want. I could read a little more of the book. I could read about some of the specifics of phenomenalism. If anyone in the chat, just while you're up with me, you want to listen to that. If I don't see any requests to continue reading, then I'll be cutting the chat soon. But of course, I'm grateful to everybody for tuning in, as always. I don't know what to say beyond the fact that I appreciate the fact that you're watching my content, and that I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, because I'm still under 1,000 subscribers. And okay, surprisingly, Ree said, "Read more, please." Not surprisingly, I was like, if somebody says to keep reading, it's going to be Ree. So, all right, little bit off script here, because I already went through what I had planned on going through. So now I'll simply read about the phenomenalist conception of memory. Let me just decide exactly how much I want to read. Okay. Then there's the adverbial conception of memory, which is categorized within phenomenalist conception of memory. So I'll read about a page and a half, right? Well, 2.5 pages, I should say. Okay, so the kinds of difficulties we've seen in relation to the representative theory of memory suggest that the memorial counterpart of phenomenalism may also suffer irreparable difficulties. Above all, a phenomenalist account of memory relies on images or imaging at least as heavily as does the representative theory, but neither images nor imaging seems either necessary or sufficient for remembering events. Let us explore this. On what may be the most plausible phenomenalist account of memory, remembering an event is understood in terms of the imaginational content of present experience. To remember an event is roughly to have a suitable collection of images representing it, on the basis of which, in a certain way, one believes something about that event. This won't do. Remembering an event simply does not require a collection of images analogous to the sense data from which phenomenalists try to construct physical objects. Images of the kind posited to account for remembering are not only not necessary for remembering, as our examples show, they also are not sufficient for it either. Just as no collection of sense data is such that its existence implies perception of an external object, no collection of images is such that in having a belief about the past grounded on those images, one must be remembering something. No matter how vivid my images of talking with you beneath the skyscraper of Wall Street, I might not remember our talking there, and my belief that we did talk there might still be mistaken. I think that's a rather poor example, but that doesn't matter. So, the adverbial conception of memory. If these difficulties are as serious as they seem, then if in search of a better account of memory we are to change course and construct a plausible alternative theory of remembering, we must take account of them. First, such a theory will not claim for remembering all the kinds of directness it posits for perception. Plainly, memory is not temporally direct as past events are not temporally present, whereas we can see a thing's properties at the same time that it has them. By contrast, any plausible account of remembering, such as a well-constructed adverbial theory of it, will take remembering to be epistemically direct. Memory beliefs, as we've seen, are not inferential. It is not on the basis of any premise that I believe or know that I, say, sat in the chair outside on my balcony. My belief is grounded in memory as a preserver of beliefs and other elements, not in other beliefs which give me premises to support the memory belief. Moreover, an adequate theory must not say that remembering an event such as sitting in the chair is constituted by memorially imaging in a way suitably caused by that past event, as perceiving an object is sensory stimulation suitably caused by the thing perceived. For no such imaging need occur. We can describe a past event to others, and in doing so actively remember it, even if we are imaging nothing but their faces. Positively, the adverbial view of memory applied to remembering events should be expressed as something like this. First, actively remembering an event is manifesting, realizing, in a sense, a memorial capacity concerning it, in which this manifestation is linked to the event by an unbroken causal chain. Just as in observing a cat, one is manifesting a perceptual capacity in describing a play for memory, one is realizing a memorial one. The most typical manifestations, the things that constitute experiencing in a memorial way, are probably 1. Imaging processes concerning the event, 2. Formations of memory beliefs about it, often through considering one's memory images, and 3. Considering the propositions so believed with a sense of already believing them. But there may be other realizations, for instance, recognizing a picture of the event. Second, passively remembering an event is having this capacity in an unmanifested way, as when, though I can recall sitting in the chair if I want to, my mind is wholly on other things. For me to remember sitting in that chair actively, something must call it to mind. So maybe when I see the chair, me seeing the chair calls that memory to mind. This is funny. Hold up. Monetized before. I don't know about that, Correa. I actually don't know that I have enough hours of view time, but we'll see. We'll see. But everybody, go subscribe to Biddy Buddha if you haven't already. She beat me in the race, so I have no excuse not to plug her channel. It was a fun race though, but I lost. Damn it. Anyone watching this that isn't subscribed, you're part of the reason I lost. I blame you. To see the difference between the dispositional and the occurrent in another context, consider elasticity in a rubber band. It is a dispositional property, whereas stretching is an occurrent property that manifests the disposition. Recalling an event can be related to dispositionally remembering it as much as the thing's stretching is to its elasticity. Just as stretching manifests the disposition of elasticity, recalling is a case of actively remembering that manifests the dispositional memory which retains the thing recalled. Propositional remembering that, can be construed similarly. On the adverbial view imagined, to remember that an event occurred is a memorial way of truly believing that it did. Roughly, to have one or more true beliefs about it, which are suitably linked by an unbroken chain to past experience and represent the event in a certain way. These beliefs constitute knowledge that is preserved in memory. On this view, then, remembering that something is so constitutes knowledge from memory, rather as seeing that the cat is sleeping constitutes knowledge through perception. Most of what we propositionally remember is dispositional, roughly recorded in dispositional memory beliefs. When these beliefs are called up in active propositional remembering, as when I describe how I sat in the chair, one is experiencing in a memorial way. This does not require being acquainted with imagistic memorial objects. One may, but need not, image memorially as when one actually calls up the remembered experience and focuses on its features in one's imagination. Moreover, whether one images a remembered event or not, the event need not be entirely as one remembers it. Here, event memory differs from propositional memory. The former, like seeing as, can misrepresent the thing in question, whereas remembering that something is so, like seeing that it is, entails its being exactly so. One can remember a meeting as being in the wrong city, thus remember it in the wrong way geographically, just as one can see a circular cup as elliptical and so see it the wrong way visually. Or, a better example would be think of putting a stick in water and light, it bending. The illusion of it bending anyway. In neither case of illusion, to be sure, does one have to be fooled. With memory as perception, illusion does not always produce false belief, which is true. I don't actually believe the stick is bending if I put it in water, even though I see it that way, right? Typically, if I remember something as having a certain quality, say a conversation as being rushed, I believe it was like that, but I can remember it as such, yet know from independent evidence, such as testimony, that it was not rushed. If, however, we really remember some object or event, then we are right about some aspect of it, or are at least in a position to form some true beliefs about it on considering the matter. This is parallel to the point that if one really sees something, one is at least in a position to be able to see it. One is at least in a position to see it to be something or other. So think about the fact that you could perhaps remember hearing me say something, and you could think you remember me saying it in this stream, when in fact I actually said it in some debate that I did in an opening statement, or I said it in some previous live stream that I did. You'd still be correct in your memory that I said it, and that you heard me say it during one of my live streams, but perhaps you might be wrong about specifically which of my live streams or which conversation I actually said that in. So there are problems of memory, and the next time I talk about memory, I will be getting into skeptical problems about memory and some solutions to those skeptical problems. Although, if I'm being completely honest, I think I'm going to limit that one to my patrons, because so far I only have 2 patrons and I don't even have any patron exclusive content. Also, shout out to Anthony Magnabosco for becoming my second patron. I don't know if my first patron's okay with me saying his name, but Anthony Magnabosco, I would assume, would be. So I'll plug Anthony Magnabosco as well. If you haven't gone and checked out his channel, if you don't know what street epistemology is a sort of application of the Socratic method in which the person using the method is trying to figure out exactly what epistemic basis the person who arrived at their belief is using to arrive at their belief. So go check out Anthony Magnabosco, everybody, and just other people who do street epistemology in general. But everybody who knows what street epistemology is knows that Magnabosco is just the king of street epistemology. And I also just want to re-thank everybody for tuning in. I'm about to go smoke some weed and listen to Kid Cudi because I still have some time before I have to go to work. So everybody, I really hope you have a great day. And I hope that you were able to learn something. Please leave a comment letting me know if you actually learned anything, what you learned. I know sometimes when I get into talking, especially when I'm getting into reading, it might sound like I'm just kind of throwing a bunch of word salad out at you, and maybe it's not really comprehensible the first time you listen to it. So whenever somebody lets me know that they understood what I was talking about and they adopt a view, even if it's not my own view, if they adopt a view after having heard me describe it, that's a very encouraging thing for me. So anyway, everybody be safe, get vaccinated if you haven't already. And I'm going to keep saying that, especially because of the fact that it pisses anti-vaxxers off. Fuck anti-vaxxers. All right.